Folks, welcome here. I am your host, Soul, and welcome to another episode of the Soul Sessions. Now, with me today, well, the Iceman cometh. He is the grandfather of British Deathmatch Wrestling, the Iceman. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how's it going?
Very well, my friend. But Iceman, as I do with every guest, every guest has a story, but every story has a beginning. Iceman, how did your story begin as a wrestling fan?
Well, what happened with me is I used to watch the old World of Sport from many moons ago in the 1980s with my dad. It was my dad who got me into it, and we used to watch it on a Saturday afternoon. The old Big Daddy, Giant Airstacks, the Royal Brothers, Kendo Nagasaki, all the great British wrestlers, and that got me hooked. And then Sky came out in the UK, Sky TV, and then we saw the WWE, or back then it was WWF. And once we saw them, it was hooked. That was it. I was in love. Wrestling crazy. Trying to get all the videos, all the magazines. Wrestling crazy.
No, hey, fair dues, son, as well. And I think especially as well with the UK, it was a bit of isolation from, the big wigs like the WWF, the WCW, and stuff like the magazines and, tape trading was so important to building that fandom and that wrestling scene as well. So, Iceman, I want to know, back in that day with magazine subscriptions, do you think they were absolutely influential with the British wrestling scene we have today?
Yes, totally, yeah. Speaking for myself, my influence was Mick Foley, as you can probably tell from the stupid stuff I do. He was my big influence, you know what I mean? And I can only say through the tapes and the magazines, and that's how I found out about Mick Foley, and watching old WCW on German television on Sky. There used to be on, you might be too young to remember, but there used to be certain, I think it was RTL, old Mick Foley. It was the one where he wrestled Vader, where Vader knocked shit out of him. Can I say shit?
Oh, of course. It's a Scottish show. We're all about the fucking swearing.
Good stuff. Well, Vader knocked shit out of him. And I saw this was long before the Mankind stuff and stuff like that, the Hell in the Cell. And I was like, this man's not right in the head. Do you know what I mean? And it was literally, I was hooked on. Back then, we didn't know Mick Foley. It was all kayfabe, It was Cactus Jack, and it was crazy. Cactus Jack and Max Payne, they were a tag team, if I remember rightly. Max Payne was in WWE, very short stint in WWE's Man Mountain Rock.
Right. Okay. Wow.
He used to play the guitar. If memory serves me correctly, yeah.
All those funny gimmicks from back in the day as well. But obviously with Mick Foley, he is an exceptional, not only just wrestler, but human being as well. Truly one of the greats, honestly. And I know from his time in WCW, he would end up transitioning over to ECW. But within that WCW time, do you feel like it's a period of his career that's maybe not given as much highlight as it should? You mentioned a great match with Vader as well. So Cactus Jack in WCW, do you think it's maybe not as highlighted time in his career, Iceman?
I think Mick Foley, if you listen to Mick Foley, he talks about it a lot. And if you read his books, he goes into great detail about his time in WCW. I think at that time, the time I'm talking about with the Vader, he wanted to end his career, so he couldn't wrestle anymore. He was at a low point, and he wanted to end his career, so he couldn't wrestle anymore. So he went out there to cripple himself. Do you know what I mean? But he does some great stuff with Sting in WCW that doesn't get talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? He's a great talent. He's a great wrestler. He's, as I said, very influential on myself.
No, absolutely as well. I mean, he is truly great, and obviously really made a name for himself within ECW as Cactus Jack and all the stuff he did. Spitting on the WCW tag titles. Stuff with Mikey Ripwreck and all of that great stuff. I mean, heck, as well. Terry Funk as well, a legend in himself.
Yeah.
Within ECW as well, Iceman. I love watching the history on it and just seeing its evolution. But with Cactus Jack, Do you feel like he's maybe one of the top pillars of ECW from his time in the company?
He is, but he doesn't get recognition for it. Whenever you hear of ECW, when people say the stable of ECW, he never gets mentioned. It's always the ECW originals, like Taz, like Tommy Dreamer, like Raven, like the Sandman. He never gets a mention, but he did some great stuff in ECW, which is surprising because he wasn't like a ECW original, because obviously he'd done Japan, he'd done all the WCW. Do you know what I mean? So he was like, he never gets mentioned in all the great stuff he did. In, like, I think the one that gets mentioned the most is the Kane Dewey. The Kane Dewey, where he saw the sign Kane Dewey, he made a full promo out of that, didn't, like a full angle out of that, the Kane Dewey thing, yeah. But no, he never gets mentioned, like with the likes of Cactus Sandman and people like that. He always gets left out. But he did put ECW, like a big chunk into ECW, do you know what I mean? Into the history of ECW, which is great, really.
No, absolutely as well. I mean, him and Terry Funk were in ECW as well, which was a fun feud in itself. But from the UK standpoint, Iceman, from that time period and ECW was going on, was it quite knowledgeable and quite known about within the UK when ECW was going on?
Well, when, as I say, ECW, when ECW was in its prime, I wasn't involved in wrestling. You know, I started in 2000. Like, I started training 99, 2000.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And that's so. But I knew of ECW, like. Well, I remember when they showed up on Raw. I don't know, but you might be too young to remember when they showed up on Raw.
Too young, I'm afraid. I'm a young man.
Well, I think the Sandman spit beer over someone. Sabu dived off the Raw sign, and it was all creative, but it was all joint. It was all like joint promotions. You know what I mean? I think it was all planned. And I remember watching it as a fan. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is the ECW that I read about in, you again, I'm showing me age, Wow magazine, World of Wrestler magazine. I'm showing me this is the ECW. This is, even though I hadn't seen them on tapes or things like that, I knew who they were because I saw them in these magazines. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, yeah, this is easy. But I didn't know anything about cross promotions, and I didn't know nothing about when they went to WWE went to ECW and things like that. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know anything about stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? But I just saw them on Nitro on Raw. I was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. You know, it was different. It was something edgy. It was something different. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And I feel like wrestling at that time period needed that bit of a kick up the arse or that bit of edge to it as well, because it was sort of like the hokey character period with the new generation, and ECW in itself really just send it to another level. So I want to know, Iceman, if you think ECW, never existed, never came about, we never got the likes of Tommy Dreamer, Sandman, Sabu, and Taz, where do you think current day wrestling would be in its current point? Do you think it'd be vastly different?
Well, I think it would be vastly different because there'd be no Stone Cold Steve Austin. There'd be no Attitude Era if it wasn't for ECW. There'd be no Rock. Do you know what I mean? Because it all stems from the edginess. They wanted to be edgy, and where did they get the idea to be edgy from? ECW. But even if you look at WCW at the time, they got the hardcore title. They tried to be edgy as well. So for this little promotion, this little independent promotion from Philadelphia, it literally was inspiration for the big two. And I believe it was inspiration for the Attitude Era. Because if it hadn't been for the Attitude Era, if it hadn't been for ECW, they wouldn't have even have thought, oh, wait a minute, there's a market for grown up wrestling. Let's just stick to the kid, to the foam fingers, to the wrestling figures, to the wrestling buddies. They would have just tried to stick it out. But no, they saw, wait a minute, there's another market here with the adults, with the teens. And that's where the Attitude Era, it speaks for itself. It was the most profitable boom in wrestling history.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So thanks Paul Heyman, and thank you ECW.
Hey, absolutely. I think it's definitely a time period and a promotion within wrestling that really needs its flowers, because without it, who knows what the current state of the business would be. So I want to know, Iceman, if when you say ECW and you hear those 3 letters, I want to know who's 4 individuals that come to your mind that you just think they are Extreme Championship Wrestling.
Well, I've mentioned them already: Raven, Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Sabu. Right. And Taz. 5. I'll give you 5. I'm going to have 5.
Yeah, I always love
Taz out.
Hey, always love an extra opinion and an extra option. There's always a good thing to have. So why is it those individuals in particular then, Iceman? Why those guys?
Because they were different. They were like nothing we'd ever seen before. Do you mean we've saw people dive or jump off the top ropes and things like that? We saw Randy Savage jump off the top rope, and all stuff like that. But we'd never seen a Sabu jump off the top rope. We've never seen a Sabu or a Rob Van Dam even. Here we go again, Rob Van Dam jump from the top rope over the guardrail to the crowd. We'd never seen anything like that before. That was like when I first saw it, I thought they're mental, they're stupid, they're going to kill themselves. Do you know what I mean? It was like she literally changed wrestling. There's no getting away from it. It literally changed wrestling.
Right. Changed it for the better, indeed, Iceman, as
well. Oh, yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Yeah, because obviously we got the Attitude Era as well. But that time period in wrestling as well, obviously highest viewership, everything going on. But I want to know your opinion as well. Do you think that boom within wrestling was not only just because of the Attitude Era, but the time period of the 90s as well? Everything going on in that standpoint, television and, just the whole culture of the 90s. How do you think the 90s time period influenced wrestling?
Well, it was the grunge period, wasn't it? It was where everything was that grunge and heavy metal and headbanging, and not only at the skater boy era and all this. It just all meshed. It was like all big in a big bowl, all mixed together, and it just worked. Do you know what I mean? It just worked. They found the niche. They found where they wanted to go. They had great storylines. They had great. Basically, you were seeing people you saw in real life. You were seeing in WWE, and you could relate to them. So basically, it was perfect. It was a perfect time. It was perfect. Everything. It just, as I say, it just worked. And we could look back at the proofs in the pudding. Eyes viewerships, eyes pay-per-view buy rates. Do you know what I mean? It spoke for itself.
Absolutely. It spoke for itself and produced the results that showed that, it technically, factually, highest period of wrestling of all time. Truly, truly exceptional. Now, I want to know as well, Iceman, wrestling, viewerships changed from that standpoint. Obviously, the way we consume media is different. More streaming, not live TV, DVRs, and pre-recording shows. I want to know, Iceman, do you think any time period, that time period in particular, of how wrestling was such a high, do you think wrestling could get back to that kind of viewership?
I can only hope. We can only hope, because it's like, how can I put it? When the WWE is doing good, we're all doing good, because it filters down. Do you know what I mean? So I doubt it, but we can only hope.
Absolutely. And you speak of, if the WWE is doing well, it trickles down. Everywhere does well, because of the top dog's doing well, everyone else is going to benefit. And I know wrestling fans in this day and age have the tribalism. I want my company to succeed, and I want them to devour everything else. I don't want that to succeed. I don't want that to succeed. I want that to go under. Tribalism in wrestling. Do you think some wrestling fans don't understand, just how things work? If, the top dog's doing well, everywhere does well.
Everywhere. See, what I don't like about wrestling fans is it's like a football fans. They love them one. You're either AEW or WWE. You're either TNA or no. Enjoy wrestling. Enjoy wrestling. Wrestling is, if I don't care what anybody says, if you hate WWE and you're a TNA fan, put WWE on. It's wrestling. You're gonna like it because you're a wrestling fan. You will find something to like. Watch it, shut up, and be enjoyed. When I was a kid, we had once in a blue moon, a pre-recorded. It was a fortnight late, Monday Night Raw, That was it. That's all we had. Enjoy it on a Friday night. Enjoy what you've got. Do you know what I mean? Enjoy what you've got. I'm going back when Sky, before we had live Raws and before we had TNT and Nitro, we had a stupid show on a Saturday morning and maybe on a Friday night, pre-recorded like a fortnight, 3 weeks ago. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, I thought that was the bee's knees. Fans today don't realise how good they've got it. You can put right now, you can put WWE Network on and you can watch as much wrestling as your heart's content. You can go on IWTV. You can watch as much independent wrestling as your heart's content. It's all wrestling. Enjoy. Pardon my friends. Shut the fuck up and enjoy it. It's right though, isn't it? It's right.
Hey, Iceman, you're not going to hear any disagreement from me, my friend. I completely 100% agree with you. And I think as well, I love going to support my local independents and just seeing anyone. I don't have to see a big star in front of 20,000 people. I'm happy, with just maybe 50 or 100 people because it's so enjoyable, the independent scene. Honestly, it's a true fun experience. And I would recommend anybody, get your arse off of the couch and all that and stop watching the big things and just support the wrestling that's outside your very window. Iceman, with the UK scene especially, how important do you think our independent scene is to the thriving of UK wrestling?
Well, you go and see an independent show today and you're going to see the next WWE superstar. How many times did people go to a Scottish show and saw Drew McIntyre? Well, Drew Galloway at the time. How many times did they go and see Sheamus? How many times did they go to an Irish show and saw Finn Balor and didn't realise what they were watching? These are future world champions. The future WWE champion is working for an independent show as we speak. People don't realise that. And that's why the independents are important, because it's literally people talking about the performance centre and that. Before the performance centre, you have independent wrestling. That's the breeding ground. That's where it all starts. And if there's nobody goes out there and supports it, it's not going to thrive. And you're not going to get the next big WWE superstar. You're going to go back and you're going to have what they want you to have again. We're going to go back to the Wailing Mercies and the Big Daddy Cool Diesel, fake Canes and fake Diesels. What they think's a good idea. Do you know what I mean? But if you're going out there and you're seeing this exciting independent wrestler, you're seeing a Ricochet. Do you know what I mean? You're going out there and you're seeing like a Dolph Ziggler. Do you know what I mean? On the independents, and they come in and they go, "My God, this is something different." That's why the independents are important. That is where you're going to see them at. And so whoever's watching this, if there's a local wrestling promotion comes to your town, go and see, because you don't know who you're going to see there. You really don't know. The next time you see them people, that could be on WWE TV.
Iceman, 100% correct, brother. Indeed, you never knew.
Because you know why? I've saw it so many times. I've saw Martin Stone get called up. I've saw Rampage Brown get called up. I've saw Trent Seven get called up. I've saw all these people. Do you know what I mean? People who are all right, how are you doing? Have a nice day. You all right? Your friends, people I consider friends, get called up. It happens every second of every day. So you want to see them before they're famous, go to your local independent show. Whatever it is, it doesn't even have to be local. Travel to support independent wrestling. I can't stress how much we should support independent wrestling, because it really is the breeding ground of the future. Yeah. Them's the ones you're going to see. Becky Lynch, Irish with wrestling. Do you know what I mean? Say no more. Do you know what I mean? She's the one of the best wrestlers in the world. She started independent wrestling. They don't people like regular fans just think, oh, all of a sudden these people just get signed by WWE and they're this good. No. They started on the independents. Do you know what I mean? That's where they start. I'm going on the tirade because that's one of my sore subjects. People not supporting independent wrestling. But if nobody goes and watches it, then you're not going to get the next big WWE superstars. You're going to get the rubbish what the WWE wants you to watch. Does that make sense?
I hear you there, buddy. Trust me, I hear you 100%. And I hope the viewers have heard as well. And make sure you're getting your wallet open and spending your hard-earned cash.
Exactly. I'm not joking. I've seen some of the best wrestling. Now, people who know me, I love deathmatch wrestling. I love the extreme hardcore wrestling. But I don't just do that. I do not like, we call it mums and dads wrestling. Do you know what I mean? And W3L up in Scotland. Now, me and my Jack were the W3L tag champions. And they do run family shows, but it's some of the best storytelling, some of the best wrestling, and the kids are loving it. The kids are absolutely, and Mike Musso earning a fortune. Do you know what I mean? He's not WWE, he's earning a fortune, and I love all that. I love it. I love to see it. Love to see it.
Absolutely, Iceman, truly. And I feel like with the family shows as well, I've had many wrestlers who wrestle them and love to wrestle in the family shows because not only are they just fun and enjoyable, but they're a great learning experience as well to, have a crowd like that as well. And Iceman,
if not stopping you speaking,
no.
The summer camps, the holiday camps?
Yeah.
I learn more in a week in a holiday camp than I have in maybe a year attending wrestling school. Because you learn at a holiday camp, okay, you're wrestling for somebody that's paid a ticket to watch a show. They're not wrestling fans, they're basically just they bought a ticket and they want to kill 2 hours with the children. So you're not going to get a wrestling fan. So if you can win them people over, you can get them people cheering for you. You've done your job. But you have to work to get that. You have to learn to manipulate them people, to get them people into believing, oh, you're this big bad, because I was 90% always the big bad guy on the holiday camps. I'm this big bad guy who hates them and wants to kill my opponent. Do you know what I mean? If you can get casual fans or non-fans at all to enjoy that product, to get invested in that match, then you've done your job. And that is the best place to learn it, on the holiday camps, on family shows. Do you know what I mean? People just think, oh, Iceman, deathmatch. I love working for All Star Wrestling. One of my favourite places to work was for Brian Dixon and All Star Wrestling. Because, don't get me wrong, you had to work because you didn't have the cheap, the crutch of a light tube or the crutch of something else. Some other weapon. You had to work, you had to be vocal, you had to move, you had to action. You used to always say action. You had to be action. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely brilliant. A lot of fans today. I know a certain wrestler. I won't mention it. David Mastiff once told me that he wouldn't lower himself to work on a Brian Dixon show. Okay, and I told him, I said, you're stupid. I said, I can remember, and this is no words of no lies. I remember once in Germany, okay, giving Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn Brian Dixon's phone number.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, I give them Brian Dixon's. They never came over, but I give him. And I remember Kevin Owens marking out to Sami Zayn that he had Brian Dixon's phone number.
Wow, really?
That was 100% shoot. That is 100. I was in WXW in Germany, in Essen, in Germany, and I said, yeah, I said that we were talking about. They wanted to get on the holiday camps. They wanted to come work for All Star, because you name it, work for All Star. All the best in the world work for All Star. And I said, yeah, I said, I've got Brian's number. I said, you want it? I said, I'll give you. And I remember Kevin Owens, it was Kevin Steen at the time. He went to El Generico at the time. Look what I've got Brian Dixon's phone number. Now, whether they phoned him or not, I don't know, because they never worked for him. But I remember Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen marking out because he had Brian Dixon's phone number. And that is a shoot. And not many people know that story, but that is a shoot.
Wow, man. I mean, I think that just really shows, Iceman, that,
that's how old I am. That's how old I am, by the way.
You're looking fabulous for your age, my friend. Really, absolutely fabulous. Could be a model, I'm saying. But I think that just shows how important those places really are. Not only to provide a good time for the families and the kids, but for learning. Because you can learn from any aspect of wrestling. You could learn the ring psychology. You can learn how to do things and everything. And it's just truly a great thing as well. And it shows the UK scene is great, because I know you've done stuff around the UK scene. But before we get into that, Iceman, the deathmatch wrestling, the extreme, the hardcore, the style that we all love and enjoy. Why does that appeal to you, my friend? Come on, what is it? Is it the blood? Is it the guard? Come on, what's on it?
I've been asked this question 1,000 times, maybe more, and I'm giving you the same answer. I have honestly no idea.
Well,
there's just something about when you're in that ring and the blood's pouring down your face and then fans are chanting your name. There's just something about it that I can't make you realize. It's like there's no better feeling in the world. I'll give you a story. Again, not a lot of people know this. So this is personal to me. I suffer a lot from depression and anxiety. Okay, I mean suffer a lot from it, like really, really, really bad depression. And the only time happiness, sometimes there's times when I can't get out of bed on the day. The depression is so strong, it is so bad when I can't get out of bed. And the times when the only joy I get is deathmatch wrestling. And that is I'm giving you now 100%, not Iceman. I'm giving you Isaac Harrop, 100% truth. The only thing what gets me out of bed is deathmatch wrestling. I've got some shows coming up in the 16th and 17th of this month, and it is really the only thing that's kept me going. So there's ICW and Rise weekend, and it is the only the only joy, because I'm at the present moment, you might be able to tell, but I'm having a real low point at the moment. Okay, but the only thing that's keeping me going is the thought of those shows. Wow. And I get choked up when I talk about it, because that's how much deathmatch wrestling means to me. That's, you know, when people say it's your happy place, that is my happy place. But why I like it, I don't know. Why it makes me feel the way it does, I have no idea. Maybe I'm a sadist, I don't know. But that is 1,000% true.
Well, hey, Iceman, I think deathmatch wrestling has its place within wrestling, because it is truly loved. You see the fans there, like even the extremes, kind of like at Rise or GCW, and they truly love it. They get enthralled. They get absolutely off their edge, just enjoying what they're seeing. Do you think deathmatch wrestling is maybe the most connective type of wrestling? That barrier between the wrestlers and the fans is just like so fine, because it's so connected between the performer and the audience.
Mm-hmm. You see, the thing about deathmatch wrestling, it's always going to have a stigma. Mm-hmm. No matter what, no matter if we sell out the Tokyo Dome, if we sell out Wembley Arena, it's always going to have a stigma and that it's not proper wrestling. But I don't know any form of wrestling what unites the fans and the wrestlers, because them fans there, they generally, when I had the match with my Jack, I don't know whether you've heard about it, the one where he nailed me to the ring.
No, I've heard of this, yes.
Yeah, well, at the end of that match, there's people came up to me crying, thanking me, literally came up to me crying. I'm grown men thanking me for what I did that night to entertain them. Do you know what I mean? That just blows my mind. Grown men, they might have been intoxicated, man. I'm not going to say they were drunk. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. But grown men come up to you, tears in their eyes, you know, streaming down the faces. Thank you for what you've just done to entertain us. Wow. Where else in the world are you going to get approval like that?
Hey, you never know, Iceman. And I think that's truly with the deathmatch wrestling type, that it is very personal. It's very open as well. And, you know, it's very enjoyable as well. Before we continue on the deathmatch wrestling, obviously within the UK, there's many companies. And one that's kind of came about and gone away, which I know you've wrestled for, is 1PW.
Go on, I knew that was coming. Go on.
I got to ask, what's your experience like with 1PW?
Oh, mate. I 1PW, I got started with 1PW. They ran an advert in one of the wrestling magazines for a wrestling shop. They were originally a wrestling shop. And my Jack was, at the time, he was a little boy. He was only young. And we travelled down from some toys for Christmas, some belts, some replica belts. And and that's where I first met Steve Gauntly. And we were talking and that, and he didn't believe me. He didn't believe me that I was a wrestler and stuff like this. And he told me, he said, I was very skeptical when you tell me you were a wrestler. He said, so I Googled you. He said, I Googled you. He said, when we decided that we were putting one PW together, he said, we wanted British wrestlers on the cards. He said, so you were one of the first that I contacted. And at the beginning, I'm not joking you, my relationship with Steve Gauntly was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
I went through hell and high water for him because I trusted him. Do you know what I mean? At the time when one PW first started, it was very American orientated. Do you know what I mean? It was very, the Americans went first. Do you know what I mean? Which of course because they're bigger names than us. Do you know what I mean? They had their former television stars. Do you know what I mean? They had a name. Do you know what I mean? We were just these little nobodies. And so we couldn't stand, but the British lads got pushed to the back. Well, the British lads that didn't really like Doug Williams, the Geordie and the Johnnies, they were pushed, you know what I mean? But the rest of us, we weren't. And Steve Gauntly really, even though it was his company, there was people, oh, don't book Iceman. He's not a proper wrestler. He's only a deathmatch wrestler. He's this. But Steve really went to bat for me, and I'm pushing him. And that's why I got all the matches with Ulf Furman and Martin Stone and all things like that, because of Steve Gauntly. And Steve Quino liked me as well. Steve Quino said that I could be trusted to put on a good match. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, but that was the good days. But then when people stopped getting paid and Steve got all these, I think he got into drink. He started drinking a lot, didn't he, and stuff like that. He was that was when things started going downhill from there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And then the next thing I know, he sold it, and then it was closed down. But then there was talk of this was going on for at least 2 years. I at the time when I wasn't wrestling, I was getting messages asking would I appear on a reunion show, and at the time I wasn't wrestling, and I kept knocking it back and knocking it back and knocking it back, and then when I started wrestling again, I couldn't refuse. Steve messaged me and he said, "Will you do this show for me? Will you do it?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's no problem." So we wrestled on that show, and it was done. It was very surreal being back in the dome. Very, very weird seeing all these people again. Do you know what I mean? That we hadn't seen, but knowing all what went on in the past. And then what happened? They booked 2 more shows and left me off it.
Oof.
Never even contacted me. Never even, and to the point where it was really getting on my nerves. So not a lot of people know this, but I'm not bothered. I couldn't care less. I messaged Stephen and I told him, I said, have you got a problem with me? And I said, you just have left me off these shows. And I said, we're going in a different direction. We're keeping away from the deathmatch and the hardcore. And I took that personal because if you ask me, it was the deathmatch and the hardcore what helped make 1PW. All of the Survivor of the Sickest and the no rope barbed wire matches and things like that would help make 1PW what it was. And I took it personally and I said, oh, all right then, that's no problem. And I left it at that. And then out the blue, I got a message off him. I'm running the over 18 show. Will you come and work for me? And I was like, no, I won't. You insulted me. No, I'm not coming. I won't work for you. Anyway, my Jack said, oh, Dad, give the man the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was wrong. He said he was wrong and done all this. So I agreed to work because I'm a soft touch. And I agreed to do it. Plus, I like money as well. And and I agreed. And the next thing I know, oh, he didn't message me and tell me, oh, we're not running no more. I said, he just put on social media. So I messaged him. I said, Stephen, do not contact me. Do not even message me. I deleted him off Facebook. I deleted his number. I deleted everything. I said, do not contact me. No, I'll be okay, Stephen. But no matter what happens, whether you get £1 million do not contact me ever again because I have no interest in working for you. Simple as that. And that was the last I've heard of it.
Aye, fair dues as well. And it's surprising, obviously, 1BW came back for like a wee short stint as well. You know, like it had Osprey as their champion. They ran a few shows and then gone again. Do you think
that was it? That was it. But his revival, the revival, I was on the revival show.
Mm-hmm.
The return show. And like I say, we done a Survivor of the Sickest match. It was brilliant. It was one of the best matches on the card. The ovation from the fans was unbelievable. And nothing. The next two shows, nothing.
It's weird. I mean,
to be told we're going in a different direction. And I was like, you mean you're steering away from the direction what brought you in the first place?
mm-hmm.
And I just took it as a kick in the teeth. Do you know what I mean? I thought, fuck you, no, can't be bothered. Fuck off.
I think don't worry. I think the whole UK kind of knows that their whole shady fucking history there, and I know some American wrestlers even know as well. So I mean, hopefully it doesn't fucking come back for a third time trying. That's all I'm just saying.
Well, only thing I can say about that, he will come back, and wrestlers will wrestle for him again, because regardless of what people say, we're all marks, and when people say the 1PW, oh, I want to work for 1PW, we're all marks. But I urge any wrestlers watching this and any fans watching it as well, if you see those three letters, 1PW, avoid it like the plague, because you're going to get disappointed and you're going to get robbed. And I don't care if Steve Gauntlet listens to this, because Steve, I used to like him, but I think he's an arsehole now.
Hey, folks, you've had your warning, and I'm sure you should take that word like gospel. Take it like gospel. Now, Iceman, I know you did a wee thing in Scotland as well in the past, you know, with ICW, you know, Insane Championship Wrestling. You and Jimmy Havoc against Jack Jester and Chris Renfrew in ICW Soldier Ma. So I want to know, what was your experience like working for ICW?
I loved working for ICW. I worked for them on the first ever show in front of 20 people. And it was an experience, and I never thought I'd hear from them again, and they did. And every time I've worked for them, I've really enjoyed it. Mark Dallas, who I still consider a friend, always looked after me, always respectful. All the people who I met in 1PW in ICW, very respectful. A lot of time for them, and it's a shame what's happened. I don't know whether they're still running. Are they still running?
They're just pay-per-view only.
Just pay-per-view only. But I hope they continue to run. I hope they make £1 million. I hope they all become millionaires, whoever's behind it, and I wish them nothing but the best, because you know there's certain companies you've only got good things to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's ICW. I've only got good things to say.
Oh, hey, well, that's good as well. And I think Mark Dallas as well, he's truly loved as well. I know, especially when
as I say, I've got a lot of time for Mark Dallas, a lot of time. And there's certain companies where you kind of, it's like, it's very unique to have a company, a wrestler not being able to say anything negative about a wrestling company. But when it comes to ICW, I can't. I can't say anything negative, because from every time I've wrestled them, they've looked after me like I was The Rock. Do you know what I mean?
Well, hey, good.
That's all you can hope for. It's all you can hope for.
Well, hey, good to hear, Iceman, that you're being treated well and a great place like ICW. But I know as well, we've got to talk about where I first heard of you, and a special place within the Scottish wrestling scene right now, Bleeding Gums Wrestling. First proper deathmatch-based promotion here in Scotland. So I want to know, Iceman, how did you first hear of Bleeding Gums?
It was Andrew Crammond. He was at a Rise show. I think it was the weekend. It was the weekend where I wrestled my Jackway, nailed me A to the ring. We're talking to Andrew, and he said, "I'm promoting shows. Will you be willing to wrestle for it?" And me, loving money, loving wrestling, loving deathmatch wrestling, said, "Yeah, no problem. You just name me the place, name me the time, and I'll be there." And I can honestly say, another one, Andrew Crammond, He is one of the best promoters, and I'm not just saying it because he's got shows coming up, and I know I'm booked on them. But even if I wasn't booked on them, he's one of the best promoters I've ever worked for.
Wow.
And that is not just blood smoke up anybody's ass. That is 1000% true, and I'm not the only one to say it.
Hey, good.
His first show, he looked after us so much. All the boys in the back, all the lads appreciated what he done. He got his, like, normally sometimes you go to wrestling shows and there's nothing. You're in this little tiny dressing room and you're cramped up and that. And we had these lovely big dressing rooms. We had couches when you were there. We had couches. There was refreshments. There was, you name it. There was everything there. And nothing was a problem for him. Nothing was a problem. I told him at the time I was having some problems with my mental health. So I said, I won't be able to drive up. That's no problem. I'll get you a train. Within 10 minutes, he had me train tickets. There's your hotel. You're not too, the one good thing, the hotel isn't too far away from the train station. So you won't, it's easy to find. And that could, if I could have asked for a better promoter and to be looked after as well as Andrew looked after me and my Jack that weekend. It was brilliant.
Hey, I love to hear it, man. And obviously, yeah, I was there as well, and I truly enjoyed it. It was a fun experience as well, and I can't wait for more to come from Bleeding Gums. But I want to ask you something as well, Iceman. It was held in the great city of Edinburgh, a truly beautiful city, my home turf. So I want to know, what's your thoughts on Edinburgh? Do you feel like it is a beautiful city that could maybe be more wrestling focused?
I love Edinburgh. The reason I love Edinburgh is, even though I'm a skeptic and I don't believe in all that gods and the afterlife and all that nonsense. I love ghosts and I love the paranormal.
Oh.
And me and my wife a couple of years ago came to Edinburgh and we went to Greyfriars Court, Greyfriars Cemetery.
Greyfriars Bobby, the old tale of the dog.
That's the one. We done the ghost tour. We went to the Edinburgh vaults, the ghost tours and all this good. Absolutely fucking brilliant. And I love it. And so promoters book more shows in Edinburgh so I can come to Edinburgh more and do the ghost tours and the ghost hunts. Absolutely brilliant.
You've heard it here first, folks. I just know Edinburgh is the place where I'm shit faced at 2 a.m. and I'm face planted in a cemetery. But that's
and also there's a brilliant barbecue place there. It's down from a flight of, I don't know how I found it, but it's down a flight of stairs right in the middle of the city centre, and I've seriously tasted nothing like it. I can't remember its name and I couldn't go back to it, but it was brilliant. Trust me, it exists because I remember it. It was absolutely brilliant.
Well, maybe that's just reason for me going on a drunken rampage and end up falling into it. I think that might be my next night out planned and sorted. But obviously, as well, Bleeding Gums, historic as well for the Scottish scene, the first proper deathmatch-based promotion in Scotland. History. It's a history maker. And Iceman, to know you were a part of that history-making opportunity here in Scotland, you and Clint Mangera in a match. What does it mean to be part of history within the Scottish wrestling scene?
Absolutely, it's going back to the ICW. Like, that was history was made on the first one of them, and to be making history again is like, here we go again. I hope Bleeding Gums rises to the heights what ICW rose to and beyond. Do you know what I mean? Because it's got all the potential. Do you know what I mean? Of being a big deathmatch promotion, like rivaling the big ones in America. Do you know what I mean? Because the talents. There was a lady there. I don't know whether you spoke to her. She came all the way from America, Jill.
Oh, I'm familiar with this individual, yes.
Yes. Because she loves the wrestling fans, and we all the boys talk to her. We all talk to Jill. And I said, Jill, I can't believe you came over here. And she went, where would it be? She said, the best deathmatch wrestlers in Europe is in one building on one show. Where else would I be? And I was like, oh my God, if this is if anybody could have a recommendation, put it on a t-shirt or put on a poster, it was that. And it was true. The best deathmatch wrestlers in Europe was all on one show, in one place at one night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
Hey, absolutely.
It was absolutely brilliant.
It was a fun show as well. And obviously, viewers, you can check it out on streaming on the Independent Wrestling TV network. It's coming to DVD as well. Get it, love it, support it. I'm just not saying that just because I was a part of the show and all that. I'm truly, honestly, love it, smashing, definitely get it as well. But I want to know, Iceman, let's put on your fantasy booking hat right now. Let's say we could do a cross-promotion show with Bleeding Gums, TNT, and Rise to be a big showcase of UK Deathmatch wrestling. And you get to put on a match. It could be 2, 3, 4, 8-man match. I want to know, what match would you put on to showcase UK Deathmatch wrestling?
That was a hard question, because you have, I am earning me money now. That is a hard question. A match, personally, I'd like to see to showcase British Deathmatch wrestling, and I'm not sure, no nepotism here at all, but my Jack versus Big Joe, I think would be phenomenal. We had a little bit of a taster up on a no-ring show up in Middlesbrough, and they done a little bit together, and you know when people gel, as chemistry?
Yeah.
They gel, there was chemistry there. So I'd like to see my Jack versus Big Joe. And I'd like to be a fan sitting in the audience watching it. Because I think they could do mega, mega, mega things.
Wow. I mean, yeah, Iceman, mate, I got to agree. I think that would be absolutely stellar to see as well. But, we've got to come back here to Bleeding Gums Wrestling, because they have the Lust for Death tournament coming up here in March, to crown the first ever and inaugural Bleeding Gums Wrestling UK Deathmatch champion. And I know in that tournament you're going up against Alton Thorne, who's obviously been on this show as well. So I want to know, what's your strategy for going against Mr. Alton Thorne? Because obviously he went against your boy Jack in the previous show.
My strategy is run and hide, if that's a strategy.
There it is. It's a strategy.
And try and survive. Is that a good strategy? Keep out the way of him till the bell rings, and hopefully see if I get a win. I don't know. The man unnerves me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that is a shoot. He unnerves me. Do you know what I mean? He might be a nice lad. I don't know. I just say what he did to my boy. He broke my boy's ribs. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, the man's legitimately a psycho. And I'm laughing. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going against him. But he's a psycho. He's scary. He's something out of a horror film. You'd expect to see him in a Friday the 13th movie stalking someone. He literally is that what's the word I'm looking for? Scary. He literally is that scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, he unnerves me a little bit.
He's definitely a fearsome motherfucker. I mean, just looking, I've seen his promo just when I was putting his episode together, and I was like, oh, fuck me. I can see why some people run away from this man in a fight. But I do want to know, Iceman, you're both guests of the show, so I'm going to remain impartial, no favoritism here. But let's say you were able to beat Alton and win the Lust for Death tournament. What would it mean for you in your career to become the inaugural Bleeding Gums Wrestling UK Deathmatch champion?
At this time in my career, it would mean everything, because it would mean that I can still do it with the best. And like I say, the best is in Bleeding Gums. Do you know what I mean? I'm not just saying it because I'm part of it, but the best deathmatch wrestlers in the world are in Bleeding Gums. We've got Big Joe. Do you know what I mean? If I could win a tournament with Big Joe in, come on, what does that say for me? At 48-year-old, nearly 49 years of age. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of it now with me going out there is proving that I can still do it against the likes of these people, because I have Big Joe coming up to me and saying he used to watch me in 1PW. He watched me in 2006 at Gorefest. He was a punter in the audience with Danny Darko. Do you know what I mean? And this is the best, who I consider to be the best deathmatch wrestler on the planet. Do you know him, Big Joe? He is. There's no getting away from it. He is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if I could win a tournament with him, I'm like, yeah, I beat the best. I can still do it. Do you know what I mean? Because one of my biggest fears is being the old man hanging on. I tell my Jack all the time. I see people like Ric Flair, and they're starting to become a parody of themselves. They're starting to become like cringy. Like, you don't know what they're going to say. And like I say to my Jack, I hope I'm not taking up people's spots, like young up and coming lads' spots. Like the old man, like people, like if the fans just think, oh, just let it go now. You've had your day in the sun. Just let it go now. Do you know what I mean? My Jack says, no, Dad, people still want to see you wrestle. People still want to see you. So if I can win that kind of tournament, it's like, it's confirming that, oh, wait a minute now, I still have a place left in deathmatch wrestling. I'm not an old has-been. Don't need to be put out to pasture. Do you know what I mean? I can still do it. And if I can win the tournament with the likes of Danny Darko, with the likes of Alton Thorne, with the likes of my Jack, do you know what I mean? If I can, Michael Caden, do you mean if I can win a tournament with the likes of these, then I'm proving to myself that I can still do it. And as I say, that's what it's all about at the moment, just proving that I can still, at 48 years of age, 49, do you know what I mean? A granddad, legitimately, people call me the grandfather of deathmatch wrestling. I am legitimately a grandfather. Do you know what I mean? Got one on the way at the end of next month. Another one on the way at the end of next month. Legitimately a grandfather. Do you know what I mean? So, and if I can win a tournament of that magnitude, then it's going to mean the world to me. Do you know what I mean? It's going to mean the absolute world.
Oh, yes, man. I'm can assure you, my friend, your spot is deserved because you truly are a fucking beast.
Thank you very much.
You are a beast of this. But I want to know as well, Iceman, with Bleeding Gums Wrestling, more shows are going to come and it's going to be truly great. But if there's some people you would love to see in a Bleeding Gums Wrestling ring, who are some individuals you would love to see come across to Bleeding Gums?
Matt Tremont.
Ooh.
Matt Tremont. Iceman versus Matt Tremont, please. Well, I would love to wrestle Matt Tremont.
Yeah, that's definitely main event worthy. Holy shit!
Do you think I've had that question before? I think I've given that answer before once or twice.
It's You've like, definitely got that in the brain, man. Jesus fuck.
Yeah, I'd love to wrestle Matt Tremont. Really would love to wrestle Matt Tremont.
Wow. Yeah, that would be something indeed, Iceman, honestly. Well, Iceman, it's been a pleasure here having you on the Soul Sessions.
Thank you very much.
I want to wrap up with one final question. In 2024, where would you like to see, by the end of it, the UK deathmatch wrestling scene?
Spoken about in the same breath as the ones in America, as Big Japan, as Game Changer. I want people to say, oh, did you go onto IWTV and watch the Bleeding Gums show? Mm-hmm. Go on to IWTV. Did you hear about what happened at the Rise show? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because believe me, we've got the wrestling, we've got the talent to do it. We just need people to give us a chance. And that's the way it's been with British wrestling from day one. We've always had the talent. We just need the people to give us a chance to say, wait a minute now. Yes, we've got the big American promotions. Yes, we've got the big Japanese promotions. But England, we have the best in the world. We just need a chance. And we deliver all the time. We deliver all the time.
Right, Iceman. I'm sure by the end of this year, you will have delivered and everyone will be flocking just to attend.
You've got more faith than I have.
I call it my young mental state. It's just very fruitful, happy. I always like to be, it's going to be fine. Fuck it. Neck of whiskey, you'll be absolutely dandy by the end of the morning. I think so indeed. And obviously, by the time they finish and enjoy that show, they'll be a part of Team Ice for sure, my friend. I think so.
Brilliant. You like the t-shirt?
Oh, absolutely.
By the way, that was from 1PW, by the way. That was a 1PW shirt.
Oh, well, hopefully you've got the stock and you ain't got it, the cheeky bastards. Iceman, my friend, it's been a pleasure here having you on the Soul Sessions. And folks, if you loved Iceman and want to see his journey up and down the UK, I will include a link to his Instagram. Click that, give him a follow, and see his journey across the UK.
Thank you very much.
Well, folks, I would say the whole YouTuber stick, but YouTube's been around since 2005. I actually have some faith you have some knowledge of how this shit works, so I'm not going to insult it. You guys know what you're doing. Well, thank you, folks, for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions.